Hey guys, this is IX with Rollout Reviews, bringing you another Crossfight B-Daman review. This time it is a special review of Across Eagle. Now this B-Daman is pretty tricky to get. You both need to try your luck with the Body Random Booster Volume 1, and you need the Garuburn DX version up set to get the Across Core. Now, in the Body Random Booster, you're going to get the body set along with his sticker sheet. Feel free to apply those if you would like. And with the Garuburn DX set, you're going to get the core, the bolts, a couple B-Dama, and the tool. So let's see if this B-Daman is worth all of the trouble. As far as this B-Daman looks, he is super cool, and he definitely looks a lot more like a bird than its predecessor, Steer Eagle. There are some avian elements going on here, but overall I think there's just something missing. There is no denying that this is an eagle, if not a very sinister looking eagle with that creepy smile. The sight is a lot more pronounced on this head part and is a lot easier for aiming at targets, much better than the more subtle head part over on this guy. Now this guy does have the supports back here, which are nice, but this guy instead has flappy wings. They have emblems on them, a head in the center and a couple of wings there. And to activate them, you bring them down, just like that. Very cool. Now the pads right there are down below, a fair bit lower than the emblem itself. So in theory you could activate these without bringing the wings down, but this is a lot more fun. You'll get a lot more out of it by pressing down here than you will on the emblem itself. That's worth noting. Now the bolt will sort of help lock it in just via friction, but there's no real peg and port point anywhere on there. The core is very, very similar to Slot Beetle. It's the same sort of molds as the standard emblem charge mold that Slot Beetle debuted, but I do think the hold parts on the inside are slightly different. They do look just a little bit different on the tips there. It does have these bits here, which are unique to this core, and of course the elongated trigger. Now it does have this trigger pad here, which is removable. Unfortunately, it's molded specifically for this core. If you try attaching this to any other B-Daman, it won't quite fit because there's a little notch here. The only reason it's removable is so you can put other trigger pads on this guy. The trigger pad itself is very similar to the steer core, however this time it can be adjusted like that for something of a power mode. I do find that the safety on this core is extremely temperamental, and it might be just because of the leg parts. You know, there's a little bit of wobble going on there, but sometimes it's just a complete dud shot, and other times the core itself just won't be quite that accurate. You'll shoot at something right there and it'll fly somewhere over there. Not extremely precise unless you have a good amount of power behind it. It's worth noting that this is a power control type B-Daman. It is dual typed, which is kind of interesting. Now, the infamous leg parts here. They're very high concept, and originally I wasn't a big fan of these. I thought they'd be super useless, but I am absolutely on board. These are really fun and actually quite helpful. Now, if you're going to apply any of the stickers on this guy, I recommend applying this green one here that goes on the leg part, because that will enable you to more precisely set up the angles at which you position this axis. You can see there's an arrow there and an arrow there. Line those up to center it. Shoot at the central target, or the centermost point, and then use this center axis here to help you use the first shot as a reference point, I think. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but we'll get into it here in just a second. It does come in 2 parts in the bag. It's a simple friction port there. There's a port there and a port there and a peg there. Put 2 and 2 together and you are good to go. Just like that. Holding this B-Daman is kind of interesting. I highly recommend putting a lot of downforce on the shoulders to counteract or help counteract that safety. Then you're going to want to put your middle fingers on the hands, or lack thereof, and your ring fingers on this bottom section. The role of these fingers here is to just keep this leg part down and in one place. The role of your index fingers here is, again, downforce, and the role of the middle fingers is primarily to turn it on that axis, like that. I like to think that this B-Daman has 2 modes, a control type mode, like this, and a power mode. Switching between the 2 is very simple. You just bring those down and flip it like that. It's a very swift motion, a lot better than the transformation gimmicks on Assault Dragon or Christ Raydra, whereas with those you have to either take parts off and place them somewhere else, or turn the B-Daman around to pull out the leg parts. With this, you can pretty much transition between the 2 modes in battle without wasting any time at all, and that is super cool. First, we'll do a power test, starting in what I like to call control mode. First shot, 2.32 meters per second, and the second shot, 1.88 meters per second. So a wide range there. Not very powerful, but something that's comparable to Slot Beetle, I think. Now for power mode here with the emblem charge. Whew, wow. 4.13 meters per second. Very powerful. And a second shot. Let's see if we can get something similar to that. Not quite. 3.46 meters per second. Packs a very big punch with that emblem charge. Now let's try and show off the leg part in action. Starting in control mode, unfortunately the safety is most temperamental in this mode. Maybe we'll be able to capture that flaw here as well, but you want to first aim at the central target for a point of reference, just like that, and then use that central axis to target the second and third targets. Just like that. There you go. You saw that the safety sort of cut most of the power from the shot, unfortunately, but hopefully it won't do the same over here. And there you go. Like I said, it is unfortunate, but it is something worth mentioning about this B-Daman. Let's try and put a little more downforce, and there we go. Just enough power to knock that down. Let's set this back up and do it in power mode, because I don't think we'll run into quite as many problems there. See, control mode relies on this safety, whereas power mode has the emblem charge as kind of an analog for that, so it doesn't need to worry about this all that much. Yeah, quite powerful here. There we go. Wow, has a lot of punch to it. There we go. Load up the third one here. Obviously, this would go a lot smoother with a magazine. Use that axis, line up the shot, and there you go. End it with a bang. I really, really like this gimmick. So much more than I thought I would. It really does help aim those shots. And, yep, I am a fan of this B-Daman. And what more can I say? A Cross Eagle takes some getting used to, but I think it is a great B-Daman. It has a lot of interesting, peculiar, and fresh gimmicks that I've never seen before. They're probably on some super B-Daman I've never heard of, but they all work surprisingly well. I think you should make it a point to get this guy just to test out these one-of-a-kind gimmicks in the Crossfight line. There are two ways of getting this body set, and one way of getting the core. You do have to get the Garuburn DX set to get the core, that's inevitable. But you can either get the body set in its orange form, in the Random Body Booster Volume 1, however, it is the rare feature here. Or you can get it in the Body Random Booster Volume 2 in a blue variant that, as far as I understand, is much easier to get. It all depends on how much you're willing to pay versus the color scheme you want. If you want the blue, great, it's right there. You can try your luck at getting that and probably have a much better chance. But if you really want the orange show-accurate color scheme, I do think that it's worth hunting down in the Volume 1, but that is up to you. Anyway, that is about it, guys, and this is IXRoll@IX, signing off.